Economics, and so in economics, if I am reteaching you this, I apologize. But we've got economic sectors. Another way to think of an economic sector, a type of job. So a type of job. And so once again, we're going to see regional differences. And when you get to your future regional presentation, I hope you maybe mention this. Mention these types of sectors and mention these terms. A primary sector job. A primary sector job is like agriculture, farming, mining. So it's essentially where you just gather raw materials, you gather natural resources. That's primary sector job. And so a great way to showcase primary sector is mining and agriculture. And so we're going to find particular regions, particularly the empty quarter and breadbasket, which overwhelmingly have a larger percentage of their jobs in the primary sector. The next sector is the secondary sector. And so the secondary sector takes those raw materials, takes those natural resources, and then turns them into a finished product. So think of secondary being manufacturing, construction, in which you're producing a final product. You're producing something that you can touch. So a house you can touch, a car you can touch, an iPhone you can touch. And so this is manufacturing. And so in particular areas, the secondary sector is declining. See the foundry. The foundry is seeing a decline in the secondary sector. Manufacturing is becoming less of a percentage of jobs in that particular area. However, the secondary sector, while it's declining there in the foundry, it recently has seen an increase in both Dixie, also Mex-America, but also Ecotopia. So Dixie and Ecotopia, Mex-America have seen an increase in secondary sector. And so that includes automobiles. A lot of automobiles are now being assembled in the southern part, in Dixie today. So Mississippi, Tennessee, Kentucky are places that are cranking out Toyotas and Hondas. Evansville's got one as well. And so in Dixie we see a growth of the secondary sector, the secondary types of jobs. Next up are the jobs that you're going to do. You are not coming to IUPUI to produce a good. You're not going to IUPUI to work in the assembly line. Instead, you're providing a service. So you're providing expertise, knowledge. So tertiary sector jobs, they range in characteristics, but the person who sweeps floors at a hotel, all the way up to the educator. Or as Bruno, it might be the other way around. But anyway, so tertiary sector, service sector jobs in which you provide your know-how. Hair cutting, cutting hair is a tertiary sector job. You provide an expertise of a service sector. So tertiary sector pretty much everywhere is growing, but in particular those touristy areas. So if you're a touristy area, i.e. the islands, i.e. parts of Ecotopia, parts of Dixie, then you're seeing a growth in the tertiary sector, the service sector job, to satisfy the increasing demand for people to travel to those particular areas. Finally, one I don't talk about in my G110, and that's quaternary. Essentially, that's science. That's computer experts, people who are extremely intelligent, people who create new things. So where do we see a strong presence of the quaternary workforce? People who have the highest incomes, highest education levels, Ecotopia. So there's where we're going to have people that are coming up with new inventions. Patent lawyers are helping people take those inventions to the patent office. So you got all venture capitalists. And so the quaternary is essentially, it's service sector, but it's extremely high knowledge. It's very much specialized in research and science and all of that. Why is that critical? We think about where in the United States do we see a large amount of quaternary jobs? San Francisco, Berkeley, Oakland. Those are all places in which we got the Google there, we've got Yahoo there, we've got something else there. I think Facebook. I think in the movie doesn't the one guy go from Harvard, meets up with Justin Timberlake, and they end up in San Francisco, right? Why they go to San Francisco? It's because there's a plethora of these quaternary skill sets. And so quaternary skill sets aren't really necessarily required or prevalent in the breadbasket, empty quarter, the foundry really much anymore. So quaternary is an Ecotopia thing. All right, finally, looking at poverty. So the areas we find the most amount of poverty, places in which people are poor and there ain't any hope for them. And so this I think showcases Dixie. Once again, those income, it kind of relates to income, relates to obesity, relates to all of this. We see the same little area here. We see people that are very much impoverished. And so it's kind of an inverse of what I was going through as far as income level. So another way to showcase that there. Oh, geez. Schools that rank the worst. Oh, my God. Schools that rank the worst. This relates to industry. This relates to manufacturing. So these are schools that have the worst air. So if you would walk out and you would have bad air from your little Johnny or Susie's elementary school, you have a big old red dot. So once again, I think this focuses on how the secondary sector has historically been in the foundry, but also how it's in Dixie as well. Because I think this relates very much to industry here in terms of air pollution that we can see there. Anyway, finally, politics. So politics, I've talked about this already, so I'm not going to talk too much about this. But we can see those regions superimposed. You can see, of course, the blues on the coast. You can see the upper Great Lakes. But also the rural places of the United States being quite Republican, quite conservative. I've already talked about this, and I explained this little sliver there. So I'm going to move right along. Why Ohio? Why, oh, why, oh, why Ohio? What does that mean? Why in the election? This is the only state that mattered. The stinking Buckeye State. The most annoying sporting fans, by far, the Buckheads. Why Ohio? Why? Why did every election, we always are talking about Ohio? It is the quintessential swing state. Any idea why? It's got exactly what he just said. It's got a little bit of everything. And so it's got some urban, got some rural, it's got some Catholics, got some non-Catholics, it's got some minorities, some non-minorities. It's a little bit of Dixie, a little bit of foundry, a little bit of breadbasket as well. And so it's a nice sampling of everything. And it's, in fact, if I had all 50 states, so if I got the average, the median income, so on average, what does a person make in a year for all 50 states? And so I got Connecticut right up here would be the one in which people make the most money. I think Mississippi makes the least money. Right in the middle, number 25, Ohio. Right in the middle, middle income, middle everything. So Ohio is always, and I would argue, it makes sense. We can relate this to the regional discussion. It's got a little bit of everything. It's kind of an overlapping area. And so we'll leave you with this. There's some that say that, in fact, the whole premise of this whole Nine Nations book is that in the future, the United States is going to split up. And if it does split up, it'd be better to split it up into 9 nations, because they're obviously, we've showcased they're quite unique. But some have actually prognosticated, of course, we got a Russian dude, a Russian guy thinks that the United States is going to soon break up. But the whole idea here is I think these regions are going to continue to come back. Will this ever happen in our lifetime? Probably not. But you never know. But the whole idea here is kind of relating it to political stuff. All right, we're done with that. Any questions about that lecture? Any questions?